Now that we have seen how to deploy Python applications on SAP Schema, expose it as an API, and serve it as an webhook on a Qualtrics survey, we have seen this end to end. Now we are going to discuss about how to deploy the same Python application on a hyperscaler's platform as a service. In this case, we are taking the example of Google Cloud Platform's App Engine. App Engine is a fully managed serverless platform, and you just have to focus on your code and don't worry about the underlying infrastructure, which is same as SAP Schema. Let's move forward. Now, before proceeding with this exercise, please make sure that you have already set up your Google Cloud trial account by following the prerequisites. Assuming you have done it, now let's also see the repository which we are going to share with you. And the URL will be available as part of the discovery mission. And the sequence of steps that you need to deploy is already here. Let's go on to your logon screen. So when you use console.cloud.google.com, it will use your Gmail account, which you signed up using a trial. And you might have seen different projects like my first project, or you could create new. I created a new project called BTP Adoption. And we are planning to deploy everything over the command line. So the first thing what we will do is we will activate the Cloud Shell. Once you click, it will set up the command prompt. It will provision you a command prompt. Now that we are here, the sequence of steps what you need to follow I have already provided here. What we will do is let's go and enable the App Engine. Let's say gcloud app create. Maybe for a new user it will trigger some authorization. I have already used it, so it didn't trigger any authorization. I'm just going to select in which center I'm going to deploy. I'm saying US East 1. And once it is set up, what we will do is we will clone the repository and we will look into the file and then test and deploy. Now, you do see the main.py. This is the same application which we shared for SAP Schema. Yeah. What we have to do is we have to make sure that you have adjusted with the parameters. Once you clone the file, please make sure you adjust it with your HANA Cloud logon details, Qualtrics tokens, and data centers. This is the main application, and requirements has all the dependencies that needs to be imported before you deploy the application, and the YAML file has what would be the runtime you use and what is the name of the service. And a point to note, if this is your first application you deploy in App Engine, it has to be of the service default, but after that it could be any service name. So we are already there and we have all these files. So now what we are going to do is we are going to create a virtual environment for Python, and then we are going to activate the environment, and we are going to install the dependencies. Finally, we are going to test the application code, and then we are going to deploy it. Yeah, so that's the sequence, and it's already mentioned here. Let's start with creating the virtual environment. Just make sure there should be no spaces between here, the slashes. And the name of the environment could be any name you prefer. I just have it as QResponse. It's done, and the next thing is we have to activate the environment. Again, be careful of the spaces. And finally, we install the requirements, and then we should be able to run the application. Okay, and let's run the application. So it is starting on port 5000 as mentioned in the code, and what we will do is let's do a web preview and change the port to 5000 and try to preview. So meanwhile, if you see here, it is executing the application, and it could actually load the responses into HANA Cloud. So if we check the status message, this is similar to what we have seen when we deploy the Kiva. So the code is working fine. Let's just end it using Control C. And now what we're going to do is we're going to deploy the app. Just 2 steps. You have to set your project and then you have to deploy it. So let's set the project. And the project here is, in my case, it's B2B adoption. I would authorize. And finally, we have to deploy the app. So when it deploys, it would still mention what is the target project. It's BTP adoption, and the target service is default as we have mentioned in the YAML. Let's go ahead. It's updating the service. And it is done now. Now that the app is deployed, let's go to the App Engine dashboard. And you should be able to see here. And in the dashboard, we have the URL for the default service. Or if you wanted to see more details about the service, you can go in the services tab, and if you want to see the logs, source code, it's possible. Let's go back to the dashboard and let's do a quick test. Currently in my HANA Cloud, I do have 15 entries from different responses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an anonymous survey, and as of now, this URL, what we see here, is not added as a webhook on the Qualtrics side because we were using SAP Kima. So I'm going to trigger it from here. Once I'm completed the survey, then you'll see it would extract the response and insert it in HANA Cloud. So let's go and check the anonymous survey. Let me complete it. Let me add it as engine test 18. Now that I've completed the survey, let me go and trigger the app. And once it executes, we should be able to test it from the DB Explorer. Okay, it is done. And let's see, we have 15 entries. And there are 16 entries now. And if you see the comment, we had it as App Engine Test Journey. Thank you.